Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the Power of Your Story. I am here with my wife, Candy, and we are getting ready to talk about our present. If you watched our last episode, and we talked a little bit about our past, and we wanted to do the whole past, present, and future. And today we are at our present, which is going to be our 40s. We're older now, so older, not old. We're just older.
Yeah, watch that.
Yeah, I know. So we're in our 40s in well, we're 50, but we're going to talk about our 40s and our 50s.
Yeah.
So that is where we're at today. And a lot of things happened in our 40s that were very pivotal in what shaped us and what's really kind of brought us to where we are today. Candy, a little more. There's some pretty major things that she dealt with. I mean, as well as myself, but we're going to really get into some things that Candy had to deal with in her 40s and kind of get a reflection of where we are because of those times. So
It's crazy. I feel like each time we're talking, you're like, "Katie really had some crazy things happen." I think that's just been my life journey. It's like every season, I would love to say that life was really easy, but it wasn't. I had challenges along the way and took all of those challenges to hopefully propel me forward with the things that God's having me do now.
today, yeah.
Yeah. So
So
40s.
let's just dive into it because there was a lot of there was a lot of death, I guess,
Yeah.
in our
Way to just
40s.
go for it right there, right
Let's
in
let's
the beginning.
let's just dive in it because I think for you it was a big reflection of your life and really the people who really mattered most to you. So that's where I want to start with you. I want to start with kind of describing some people and some things that have gone on.
Well, when we sat down and we were talking about this, I put down the years and I'm like, okay, let's go back to 2011, which is when our 40s started, all the way through now. And then I went back and just remembering how my 40s started. And so, uh, 40s. When they came in, I turned 40 in February, and, I had my best friend that I had had since I was 5, even though we had been in and out of each other's life just later on due to some challenges, but she died by suicide in May of that year, and it just rocked my world. So
Yeah.
that is how my 40s started, which was um, just crazy and something I couldn't wrap my head around
Yeah.
and just didn't know how to process that. So that was my start in my 40s. Um,
Talk about your guys' relationship, just where it started, and why it was such a big factor in your life.
she was the first friend that I ever had. I remember. And I mean, we went through elementary school and middle school, high school. We even graduated college together, walking across the stage at the same day. She was going to school for nursing, and I was in school for human resources at the time. But we had just seen everything. I stood up in her wedding. She stood up in mine. We were there when kids were born. So she was just instrumental in my life. And after we both graduated college, had gone through some challenges and life shifted and mental health really became a challenge there, and I didn't quite always know how to process that. And there were times I was very involved with her as a friend, and then times I pulled away. And at the time when she passed, I had just had a conversation with her before that, but there had been a gap in time where I hadn't talked to her. So it was just a big part of
I just
my
remember
life.
always being around or calling or, you know, a landline. We'd have always have cell phones, but she would call and
Yeah.
ask to talk to you. And remember a situation where Lily, the littlest one, and I really remember her from that one. We were cleaning her nose with
Gosh.
remember with little tissue, and Lily. She was a baby baby. She snorted up, and the little teeny piece of toilet paper got stuck in her nose.
My god, we
Not
were
get it out.
panicked.
Panicked, stressed. We called Christine to come over. She lived up the road from us, and she
Yeah.
came over and took care of it.
Yeah, she sucked the Kleenex out of her nose,
Yeah,
and I was like, "It's gonna go to her brain." We were panicking as
your
parents, like, well,
parents.
like, we didn't have other kids or something,
Right.
but she was the baby, so we were freaking out.
But yeah, so I just remember her being such a big, vital part of our early life, and when she started having those challenges, I mean, we just we were in our own selfish world, I guess, so we didn't
Mhm.
really know how to deal with those kind of things.
Yeah.
I mean, is that can you agree on that? I mean,
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of that. We had our kids we were trying to raise, and it just wasn't something I hadn't really understood a lot, even though my mom had challenges with it as well, I just
mhm,
didn't understand it. And so it was easier to just focus on family and career and all of these other things that were going in our lives as
mhm.
opposed to that.
We'll go through some of the challenges that we really kind of
Mhm.
quickly go because
Yeah.
they're focused on death, but they're these deaths that happen in our lives were very pivotal, um, because it really brought us closer to our families. Maybe
Mhm.
when it came to Maya, we had another unfortunate situation with extended family where it really kind of rocked our world as a family. Um, a lot of challenges with that. We didn't understand, that he was younger. Um,
It was the same year.
same,
So 40, they were 6 months apart exactly. So Christine and then Maya were 6 months apart.
mhm,
Both died by suicide and in 1 year, and we were like, "What?" And that was right when we turned 40 that year.
right?
It was crazy.
Yeah. 40 started
Rough,
pretty rough.
rough.
I personally did some self damage to myself in my 40s where,
Mhm.
I had a DUI. It took 4 years to really happen, but I believe it really happened for a reason. There were things I look back at things that I've said during the whole situation where I really had no reason to say it. I just admitted to things that nobody would have ever known if I didn't say anything, but I did.
Yeah,
And looking back at it now, I'm like, those things had to happen in order for me to get to where I was then, to where I guess I was heading. Those things had to happen. They weren't easy. Put a lot of stress on our marriage, a lot of stress on our family, financially, emotionally, but something I wouldn't take back. It really isn't because it taught me a lot about me as well. Because within that time frame, you have to do some things for the courts.
yeah.
So I had to, and I had to at this point. I had to give my time. So I had to pick places where I would go and donate my time and just give community service. So I did it for a homeless shelter in Pontiac, and then I did it for what's it called? Where
It's
they
like
have the meetings at
yeah, it's like a
Celebrate Recovery
celebrate
at
recovery.
a church locally here in Waterford that I did it at, and I just felt myself as I was doing these things changing because I looked at homeless people differently. I looked at the people who had these challenges alcohol wise
Mhm.
differently. I didn't look at them like, you know, these people they parade homeless. They should get a job. I don't know why they're not getting jobs, and they're standing at corners just begging. And I just looked at them in a totally different way. I had so much empathy for them because I got to know them. I got to talk to them. Got to build some relationships with them. Um, so it really was a very pivotal and beneficial thing for me moving forward after all that to have that experience.
Yeah. That really was one of the key things when I look back at our 40s that I remember outside of, the things that we had happen in the deaths in the family and friends, but what we had to go through, not only you, but what you said,
Yeah.
it really had an impact on our family and really put an additional strain on our marriage to the point where we just didn't know if we were going to make it. We didn't know and we'd hide it from everybody. They had no idea how rough it really was, and, um
We were I don't know if we were really good at hiding it. I mean, we did hide it.
yeah,
I don't think it was probably we were really good at it, but we did hide it.
mhm.
Um,
I'm sure others felt it. They didn't know maybe to the extreme of how the tension was,
yeah,
but there was definitely tension there.
sure.
Yeah,
And how could it not be? I
yeah,
mean, really, how could it not be so filled with tension and anxiousness and just fear?
yeah.
What's going to happen next? That part of my story, I really definitely regret doing it, but the lessons that I took from it have really carried on
Mhm,
the following years.
yeah. Do you think that that situation allows you to be more open when you are interacting with, like, men that might be experiencing some of the same things
Oh,
today?
100%. 100%. Again, I could have been, I mean, I know I was the way before where I would look at people in the corner and I'm like, what are you doing standing there? Why aren't you working? Why aren't you
Mhm,
doing these things? And yeah, there may be guys that could could do work, but some of them are to the point where emotionally they couldn't do it. Here's what I felt, and here's the reason that part, and it still holds dear to me, is those people I feel were basically kicked to the curb and they were forgotten about. They were just dismissed saying your life doesn't matter. You're just kicked to the side. And I think that's why it strikes me so much now today
mm,
is because nobody's life is a throwaway life. Nobody. Everybody has something to give. Everybody has something that they can offer someone. Those people deserve love and they need somebody to listen to them and build them up and encourage them as well. I'm glad I went through that because I would have never had that emotional capability to deal with that with people. And me going through that has set me up for where I am going today and maybe even in the future of what I'm supposed to do because of that whole situation. I just don't like people to feel like they aren't worthy of love. And a lot of these people in that homeless shelter would tell me that the parents kicked them out or the parents would make them drink with them or make them smoke or do drugs with them. And those things broke my heart.
yeah,
It was such a hard thing to go through. And to look back at it now, I know how big of an opportunity it was to do those things, even though it put all the stress on our marriage and in my family. Thank God we got through it. And it's only by the grace of God that we got through it. I learned some valuable lessons in it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, we dealt with loss of friends and family, a DUI during the 40s. A couple of other things that stood out to me, and we were really trying to think of what were those pivotal
Sure.
moments in our 40s because we can't talk about everything, but the
Right.
ones that really shaped us. 40 for me, 41 was also it was like back to back years. You talk about like the major stresses in life. I think every single one of them hit me in 2 years time. But, 41, my grandma passed away, in January that year. My mom passed away in June. I had to decide whether I was gonna stay with a business I had started at the time or go back into a company,
Mm,
and I decided to start a new job. But also, because of all of our situation and the financial obligations and
oh,
challenges we had,
yeah.
we were getting foreclosed on in our home because it was right when we hit a recession.
10?
11 well, it was after
Uh,
that, right? We had had the
oh,
challenges, but
yeah.
it really hit us all about the same time, 2011, 2012,
Yeah.
thereafter. All of the challenges in our early phase, it's like we were hit with having to move a couple of times, switch,
Mhm.
uproot Lily, she was the youngest one at home, and just a lot of change. A lot of change in trying to manage through all of that. So these were crazy.
Very, very.
I mean, if I would have ever taken that like stress test during that time, I'm pretty
You've
sure
been off the
my
charts.
I don't even know if they had a number for it, how
Yeah.
high it was for those few years there.
Because
So
you were really close to your grandma.
Yeah, very
Yeah,
close to my grandma, very close, and my mom and I had been through so many things in life that, luckily I had an opportunity to just say, "I forgive you," and to not carry that because I carried it for so many
yeah,
years, and to let that, burden off of me and forgive her for what I wanted from her
yeah.
in my life, what I thought she should have been there with. That was huge.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Which leads us to through those valleys and through those situations of our early mid 40s, we really started to think about, okay, we're not doing it on our own. We're not it's not working on our own. We need to find a community. We need to find a church. We needed to do something that would just just shake us up a little bit.
Yeah.
Something
That's when we
different.
went to Kensington,
So
right?
yep, we went to Kensington,
Mhm.
which this was a very pivotal part to where we stand today. Um, I mean, I think we've talked about it in our
Mhm.
past episodes.
We did.
Um, but since this is our kind of our present, moving into our present, we want to kind of drop a few things on it and tell them a little bit about that class and what it really did for you and
Yeah.
for our relationship.
We did have a whole episode we talked about our journey, but 2019, we went to a class where we really started to lean into our relationship more with God and
Mhm.
also listen to where we feel like, he had a purpose and a calling on our life, and we went through that together for the
Yeah,
first time, and that was really important just from strengthening our relationship, but also strengthening it with God in the center.
which was really kind of crazy because we kind of just jumped into it. Like it's like we saw it, we were going to do it, and we're like, we should do it.
We had no idea when we were in it.
Like we had no.
I mean, I remember just breakdowns going through the class because I had to really, really start to recognize some things that were holding me back in life and
Mhm.
what was
The
shaping me and
strongholds that were.
where God really was calling me to be.
Mhm.
And in that class, I just remember they had us pick a word, and mine was overcomer, and I talked about that in the podcast. But I think it goes back to where you kept saying, "Yeah, Candy's journey, it was crazy, it was challenging." I I don't regret anything in my life. I think every single piece of my challenging life story has equipped me
Mm.
for a place where I just understand and can empathize with different women in different places, whether it's mental health, whether they've gone through grief, whether they've had health challenges, whether they've been in domestic abuse situations. I pretty much
Gone
could
through it
check
all.
them all off and go, okay, I can understand and I will never sit in a place of judgment. But I just want to support people
Yeah,
as they're going through that because I've lived it and I've walked it and it wasn't easy.
yeah. It's funny because I remember saying, "I really don't have a story." I'm like, "Really? I mean, my life's been pretty basic." And then I began to share with them kind of the things I was going through, and
Yeah.
I just quickly, my parents got divorced at a young age. I got kicked out of high school twice. I think I've talked about this. My ninth grade year, my first semester of my 11th grade year, found some friends who by only God's doing, found some friends that brought me in. So I'm sharing all this stuff with them. And I'm like, I've lived with this family. They took care of me. They kind of guided me through things. And these people looked at me like I was crazy. They were like, "What do you mean you don't have a story?" And now I look back at it, I'm like, holy cow. If it wasn't for all of those things to happen
Hmm.
and all of these great people, I'm not sure we would be sitting here in front of you today
I know.
sharing our story and what we've gone through.
Hmm. So, wow, so the class, we've had thefts, we've had DUIs, and in the midst of all that, we're still raising kids in our 40s. We had kids that graduated high school, Celeste and Lily.
Mhm.
We had older ones that Kayla getting married, having
Yep.
kids, our grandkids are around. Amanda had so many different things that was going on in her life. I remember she was getting that award at Auburn Hills. So we had really good things happen in our
Yeah,
life
for sure.
too. We're hitting these pivotal moments that were seemed to be the valleys, what they taught us, but really great things along the way that I don't want to lose sight of because
No.
those were all fun, raising our kids and just seeing them in sports and grandkids being born and marriages and all of those fun things.
And I think if you reflect on your lives, if you are watching us today, we all are going through the stages of life. There's good things, there's bad things, there's things that we deal with, but we just keep pressing along. We just keep fighting, getting through it. We didn't realize that we were, how much we really needed to lean on each other
Yeah.
through all of the things. But even in the midst of not even knowing who God was, we found a way to make it through those times where it would have been so much easier to just cut it,
Hmm.
go on our other ways, see what happens. But we continued to work through it,
Yeah.
which leads us to 2020 and
And
our 20 year
50s.
our 20-year anniversary, right?
Uh huh.
2020,
2020
our
COVID. Yeah.
20-year
That was,
anniversary. And we all know what happened that year. I don't like to bring up all of those things, but
that's part of the history.
that year through me personally, I am not a person to be in a house alone with just your family. I am a busybody and like to be around people.
Okay, I wanna just play like, do a, side conversation here. He does not like to be alone at all, you guys, like, the walls close in on him, and just an example of this is we years and years ago, I remember driving back from Niagara Falls, and we were in a car, and we're driving back. Lily was in the car, and she was a baby, and we were stuck because it was after the whole
9
9/11 thing, and we were stuck on the bridge for hours and hours and hours and hours, and it we couldn't get out, and I thought he was actually gonna jump off the bridge and swim home.
close.
And so now you take us to 2020, and now we're in a house. Like, he was confined in a car then, just on a bridge, but it just reminded me of that, and 2020 really almost took him out, I think,
It did.
firstly. And it really sent you into depression for
It
a
did.
while. Yeah.
And I'll just go back and forth. Today, the reason I am the way that I am today is because of that year.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people have 2020, they look at it and it shaped them to, I would say, worry,
Mm.
be fearful of some things. I am the complete opposite of what that year did to me.
Mhm.
I want to be around people. I want to hug people. I want to shake everybody's hand. I want to be in a room
Kissing
full of
babies,
people.
shaking hands.
My friends tease me, kissing babies, shaking hands. That's what that year did to me,
Mhm.
which is what led me to the things that I'm doing now. Is that year really messed with my mind, right? It really
Yeah,
did.
really did. Okay, so we know that year was crazy. Our 20th anniversary, we were supposed to go to Mexico with our whole family. We had an all-inclusive trip booked. We had to cancel. So instead, we wanted to renew our vows, and we did it out in the backyard with just our kids that came over, and it was just something small but so important. And then I remember none of the restaurants were open on our 20-year anniversary, so we went and we got sagebrush and we drove right by the water and we parked, popped open the trunk and sat in the back of it and ate our food because we wanted to just overlook water.
Eating
Eh,
sagebrush.
we were finding the beauty in it though, and we smiled and we laughed and we were like, it is what it is, but let's enjoy every moment of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else? That same year, I left out of the company I was working as an executive, and that was a huge transition and not knowing what was going to happen financially because that was a big hit financially with what we were making there and started my own business. Decided not to go back into executive role and just give it a try myself. So that was a shift just in lifestyle and
This whole early
50s.
No,
Oh,
I mean,
oh,
in our
since
50s,
oh,
but since 2020, I mean,
mhm,
these last 5
yeah,
years have really been a whirlwind.
and fun.
Fun.
Fun? Well, let me take that back.
Please.
Not all fun. Fun now. Few years ago was not even
No.
as fun, so we should probably
Yeah.
highlight some of that.
Scary, fun, life-changing.
We were empty nesters and had just had things that I would say if our marriage had some huge shifts when we were in our 50s. We had things that we would just kinda, like, bury. We wouldn't really deal with them, we'd just go, "Okay, I wanna move on to something else," and we'd bury them. And we alluded to them when we talked about, our past on our last
Mhm.
episode. Um
So, you haven't watched that yet?
Yeah,
Go
go back and watch it so you'll understand.
to see where we're at today.
A few years ago, my relationship with God was really growing. I know yours was growing, but we weren't quite in alignment
Mm.
on where we were. We were at different places, and I was just really feeling a strong pull with my relationship to step away from lifestyle things that just
Mhm.
didn't serve just where I am in my 50s anymore. It wasn't important to me. We used to party and go out and do things like that, and it just was not important. I really wanted to just build my relationship with God and do what he was calling. And
Well, I mean, a big movement, a big change was we switched churches.
oh, went back to the apostolic church.
So we went back to my home church where I grew up
Mhm.
in the late 80s when I was in high school. I just felt that I needed to go back there.
Yeah.
Um, Andy and I fought for a while. We really did. She was not willing to come back, and I felt the pull to come back. Finally, she, said, "Okay, she'll try it."
Well, and part of the reason was that class and being at Kensington, I felt like really had such a huge impact on me, not because of the people at
Right.
church or anything about it. The beliefs were still there, but I think I just was so drastically changed
Mhm.
with that class that I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to connect there and had no idea how much God was like, this is where you need to be in the relationships and the friendships and just the community that I now have that I didn't have before.
Will you do me a favor,
Huh?
real quick? What was the turning point from the church when you had this call for reaching out to women? What was the one thing that happened? And if you don't remember, I know you're gonna remember when I say it, but um, what was the one thing that you were like, I didn't have that conversation, or I did not run into that person?
So we were going through a class, Freedom, at the Apostolic Church. And again, this was another really good class for us to go through and just highly recommend it. But it again helps you walk through and break things in your life and really, really develop a stronger relationship with God by letting go of things that you need to let go of, which is why it's called freedom.
Mhm.
And we were going through the class, and I was really feeling strongly pulled into doing something with women, but I didn't know what that looked like. And I was like anxious about it almost for a few days. I get anxious every time I feel like God's asking me to move. And I was really anxious. And we went to church that night. And I don't know if you had stepped out or weren't in the room yet. And all of a sudden, I'm sitting in the room and I'm just waiting for class to start, and Renee Warman walked by, and I had no idea I was going to
Yeah,
talk to her.
right.
I didn't even know. And I just ran out in the hallway. Hey, Renee, I got to talk to you. I have this idea. God's been placing something on my heart, and I think maybe I'm supposed to do something with the ladies here. And she's like, oh my goodness, I just put something on the calendar. I know that we need to do something. And we sat down and started talking about some things that we
Mhm.
could do with the ladies there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had to say that because that really, for us as a family, really started our lives with that family, with that
Mm,
community, because Candy needed to find a place where she could really kind of expand this gut feeling she had and things that she needed to do. And I wanted you to say that because this really
yeah.
was a big starting point
Hmm.
of building our relationship with our home church.
Yeah.
You know,
It definitely was.
which
Okay.
leads us all to today, right?
Wow, it does. So
If you've watched things in our past, um, I have a men's group. I'm dealing with, um, I have guys who are a community. We're learning together, learning about God together. You know, going through things and discussing things, which I look back at my history and my past of things that I've gone through, and it's kind of prepared me for the place where I'm at today.
mhm,
And that's what Power of Your Story is all about, really, is those things that shaped you and all the things that you've gone through. Like God set me up to do this.
yeah. As I look at that conversation that I had with Renee, the things that have shifted with you, the things that have shifted with me, I'm doing small groups with ladies, trying to get involved in more things with the ladies ministry at church, just doing things that I feel like have bigger purpose in life rather than self-focused. That's been a big shift late in our 50s, I would say.
Our lives are changing because I think we've kind of opened up our hearts and our minds to accept something different than we thought our lives were going to look like.
Mhm,
And I think it's really, I mean, I know we say I think a lot, but it really is kind of helping us to grow and to look forward to a future where we're really trying to do the things that God, I feel, are asking us to do.
mhm,
And this is one of them. This is sitting down here talking to you guys. I mean, we talked about it before we got on here. Katie was asking, what is the whole purpose and what's our why?
yeah,
And it's this: being honest, speaking the things in our past, what shaped us, and what we plan on doing in the future.
yeah. So if we could summarize these 50s, what do we want them to walk away with? I would say 40s, 50s for me from a lesson and just pivotal thing in life is had some deep valleys, but found positives within all of those, still enjoyed life even in the midst of all of the challenge. I learned to listen to God. I placed him in the center even when I was going through all of those situations and even in our marriage. I quit trying to figure it all out and I started trusting God
Yeah.
through it, and that was probably my biggest learning through all of this is that I never had it under control. God always did,
Hmm.
and I needed to trust him in the middle of it all.
I mean, that's a great summary.
Yeah,
Just don't give up. I
yeah,
mean, that's really, we've gone through so many things, so many things that would have buried our marriage, buried our family. And we just stayed as faithful as we could be. We shifted our minds. We act differently. We speak differently. We do things differently than what we have. And I think that's really been a big help. Our kids come to the church now, and it's been a 180 from where
mhm,
we were just a few short years ago. So it's been great. We're looking forward to what God's going to do with us in the future, and we're going to just continue to be faithful and listen to Him
mhm.
and just do what we think we need to do
Yeah,
moving forward.
absolutely.
Hope you guys enjoyed this. This was actually a lot of fun. I was a little timid before we did this, thinking it's been a minute, but we uh we really enjoy doing this.
Well,
We hope you guys like it. Hey guys, thanks for listening. Until next time, as always, love, listen, and encourage those around you.
have a great one.
Thanks.